Okay, I'm recording. 1 second. You directly give some instructions as a human. We normally give some instructions to this hardware, and this hardware works accordingly. Correct? It's pretty obvious. But if you dig deeper into it, this hardware is basically enabled by a software program, which is your operating system. So when you say a human is directly interacting with this hardware, means they are basically interacting with the operating system. And this operating system communicates with your hardware, and then the communication happens back to the human. This is how it is. Okay. So whichever instruction that you normally write, let's say you're creating some instruction, or let's say it is a program, you basically give it to the operating system, make it understand, and your operating system, gives you some kind of output. And let's say this is your input. It gives you certain output, which is comes back to your input as a response to this person, right? So these instructions, which are directly interacting with your operating system, you know I'm yet not calling it as a programming language, or I'm not naming anything, but whichever instruction or the set of instructions that you give to the operating system, like your Ubuntu, Linux, all these operating systems that we have, those instructions or the language in which you are using, they are called programming languages. Pretty obvious, right? They are your programming language. But let's say if you want, so there is some extra layer that is coming here, for example. So when you are when you're trying to communicate with some other hardware, so let us say this is computer number 1 and you have computer number 2. Let us say this is also some kind of hardware, correct? So let us say I want to communicate between these two. Okay. So I have certain mechanism in which this kind of communication happens. So when you have two devices, device number 1 and device number 2, and you want to establish some communication between, let's say there is a person here who gives the same instructions that we were talking about. Instruction, let us say I want to send hi from here. It travels and it gets displayed here, and there is some other person who is here who will be trying to access that information, right? So, and yet again, this is one hardware system or a computer which is having a processor inside it, and it is trying to understand a human and getting back to him with some instruction. So here, there are a set of rules with which this communication happens. Okay, and that communication, the rules that we call, you would have heard about this term. Uh, have you heard of TCP IP protocol anytime?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So
yeah,
TCP IP protocol, it has some, it is just some bit stream that passes through our wires or through your router cable. Likewise, the communication happens through optical fibers and all, right? But the thing here is, whenever this information, see, let us say a packet of information is coming to me. This is some packet of information, and this says, hi, good morning. Okay. And if this information is coming in to my computer, right? So there are few pieces of software which understands this communication, or normally we are currently using this HTTP protocol, right, to communicate
Yeah.
across the internet. So whenever this information is coming in, I need to process it. So there is some device inside my computer which we normally call as our our Wi-Fi module. So there will be an inbuilt Wi-Fi module in our systems which will receive this information and put it in our machine, or our computer, right? And most of the interaction here, so this Wi-Fi module that I'm talking about, or this Ethernet module that receives this communication, or this bit stream, which are nothing but voltages, right? So all these wires and everything, they carry voltages. So they basically convert this bit stream into some understandable language and display it to us. Now the question is, what exactly is happening from my Wi-Fi module? I'm considering Wi-Fi is the current communication that I'm using. It could be a Ethernet module or a Bluetooth module or whatever, especially whichever supports your HTTP transfer protocol. So this Wi-Fi module that I have, which is again, it is a hardware, it needs to show me some output. Okay. Let us say in this case, I mention a simple message here. But let us say you're trying to access a web page. Okay. It was before, it was just a simple good morning. Now it is a web page. Now, what is a web page, first of all? Why do we even call it as a page? So let's break it into two parts. You have a page. A page normally consists of some piece of information in it, and it is traveled through web. And this page that we have, you can normally create a page with your Microsoft Word. You can do it with your Notepad, WordPad, however it is. But if you want to access a web page, you have a specialized software that is built on the top of this operating system that we were talking about. So whichever information that we get this web page through our Wi-Fi hardware or Wi-Fi module, it directly interacts with a piece of software which through which you basically see the output, or through which you see your web page, which is called your browser or the browser software. The browser is a piece of software, isn't it? We basically install it. We get them built in. So whichever information that you are getting here are basically converted into something called browser software. Okay. So now there are two things here. You have your computer, and this computer is having a small processor and some basic computer things. And you have this Wi-Fi router, which is an input device, or Wi-Fi module, which is an input device to your processor. This could be your Intel i7 or whatever. So this is a port for you. Likewise, you have your keyboard connected to this processor. You have your mouse connected to this processor. So all these devices need to interact with your processor, and a human interacts with it via a programming language, right? Again, going back to our initial discussion, and on the top of, for this processor to work properly, or there is something called your operating system, which acts as a bridge directly with your human here. Now the thing is, why don't we directly see the information, on my operating system? So there is a piece of software which is designed specifically to understand these web pages or something coming from some remote device to you. Okay, there is a mechanism with which it operates. Let us say if you are directly programming a device means giving instructions to the device, we call it as a programming language. But if you want to program a browser, see, a browser is always built on the top of operating system. It is not operating system. A browser is a piece of software. So if you take these examples of programming languages, you have your C++, Java, Python. Likewise, you have a lot of other languages that are Ruby on Rails. There are a lot. So these languages, what exactly they do is they directly help you to program the device or give instructions to the device. But we are talking about a totally different thing. I'm talking about building something which is on the top of the device or which is your operating system. Again, on the top of operating system, you have a browser. So we are talking about this guy. How to program in your browser. Okay. So this browser, whichever the meeting will end in 10 minutes, you can rejoin the same thing. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So to make something which works on a browser, you know, we call it as scripting language. This variation is very important for us even to understand Node.js. That is the reason why I have to tell you this basic stuff again. Okay. So there is a lot of difference between the language that is being written to build applications that are specific to browser and to build applications that are specific to a computer. You need to look at these two things as totally two different things, actually. Okay. Understood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let us break this down. What exactly happens with mon? Okay. So if you see, of course, this M stands with a for your database. So database, you don't need to worry much about it. It is just some, you can consider it as some Excel sheet placed somewhere. It gives you, it will help you to store data, get data. That's it. Okay. And you have this, express. Your E stands for your express. You have React and Node. Now, where do these stand is the question. And what is the difference between these three? Can you tell me, as per your understanding, what is the difference between these three?
Based on my understanding, like Express is just a framework,
Mm-hmm.
which will be running on the Node engine, and
Mm-hmm.
React is also a framework which is designed for our UI rendering part and all. And Node.js is a base, which
Mm-hmm.
is Express will be residing on top of it
Mm-hmm.
on the node.
Right, right. Okay. So now let us understand this in a very deeper manner. Okay. So Node.js was a very new product. Okay. Node.js is very new to the market actually compared to JavaScript. So when these people invented JavaScript, it is just made to work on, there is something called this V8 engine. You would have heard about this.
Yeah, great engineer.
Okay. Basically, what they did was you're getting some web page. Let us say you try to log in into Facebook, for example. You're getting this page from somewhere. You don't know from where it is. Okay. Let us call it as servers, Facebook servers. Whenever you're getting a page means, see, information, if we are talking about information and transmission of information, ultimately your information comes down to binary, and which is nothing but voltages. Okay, however fancy that information is. So we always need to look at information like some binary information, raw information. We should not see it web pages like web pages. They are very fancy. So whenever you're getting this information, it passes through your communication module, then to your driver. Every device that is connected to your processor will have a driver software, that bridges your device with your processor, right? If I'm connecting some USB, I need to have my USB drivers installed, so they basically act as a bridge. and this driver, this is again, so this is a hardware, this is software, this driver is again interacting with your operating system. Now, the thing is, whenever this communication happens, if you build some bridge here, which is a browser, it needs to communicate with your operating system, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're getting this information as 0101, let's say, for example, like this. But I need to convert this information into a good looking image. It could be a HD image. I need to have a means to display it on the computer. So this information will be traveled directly to the operating system, and this operating system will basically tell your browser that, okay, so browser will have all the abilities to display the information, to display the text, to open a new tab. So that those are the features of a browser. Whichever information that you get, you throw it and show it on the monitor. Means your browser will also be connected. Can we say it is connected to your display?
Yeah.
It is connected to your keyboard. It is connected to your what do you call, mouse? Yeah. Your browser is connected to your, let's say, for example, your projector software that you're using. So basically, your
Yeah.
browser just acts as a different operating system altogether. Now, when this internet came in, when we are, when we started getting these faster speeds of internet, we hardly use native software, right? We are using everything on a browser. So the browser, and even your browser interacts with your mic. It has GPS now. Chrome is having GPS recognition. Previously, the browsers don't even know how to recognize your GPS location. So now you are equipped with a complete, what you can call it as a pseudo operating system on a browser itself, right? So all this, all these devices are now getting connected directly to your browser, and your browser is basically acting like an operating system. Okay, this is one side of the game. When JavaScript was invented, the only thing that they bothered about is show some information, get some information from the internet, show it on the browser. That's it. There is no other task that is assigned to your JavaScript till then. Okay, and that is the reason why they called it as a client-side JavaScript. Okay, so this client-side JavaScript just deals with showing buttons, clicking on buttons, or let's say typing something in your text box. All these kind of activities that you normally do, cosmetic activities that you can call. Okay, so these are the only activities that your client-side JavaScript can do. Now, this client-side JavaScript is a very initial version of JavaScript. And later on, what people realized is, as JavaScript is open source, which is your client side CS, if someone is knowing or aware of JavaScript, why can't we make this JavaScript a programming language? This is a business requirement actually. And the reason is, I have a resource who knows JavaScript. Okay, he's very good at JavaScript. And he is building very good interfaces. Okay. Now I want to build backend also. So I need to make him learn Python, Java, and all this stuff. That is a very time consuming job. So what the inspiration for us to, make this a programming language is, why don't we just take the concepts of JavaScript and build a programming language out of it? Now, why should we even bother about a programming language? Is, in addition to the interfaces, which is currently being developed, I'll also program the servers. Both can be done using JavaScript is the intention here. Okay. And they end up building another piece of software. You can even look at, see, for these interfaces, it will work on your browser. And again, it is having your V8 engine. Inside your Chrome, you'll have this V8 engine. And to program these servers, they isolated this V8 engine and made a brand new software out of it, which is called your Node.js. So Node.js, you just look at it like a software, which is basically two things here. You need to understand, so there are two parts of JavaScript now. One is the one that directly interacts with the human, and the one that directly interacts with the computer or your CPU. You need to understand the difference between these two, and you need to create a learning path in these two different ways. Okay, so for you to understand the server-side JavaScript, or or let us say the programming version of JavaScript, because whenever you're directly interacting with the operating system means you're basically programming it. You're programming a computer.
Yes, yes, yeah.
You're programming a computer means a bigger computer is your server, a huge machine. It could have some 256 GB of RAM itself, or some 1 TB of RAM, even bigger. The servers that your Amazon AWS is having, right? So if you draw parallels, and or probably if you want to excel more, let us look at some alternatives. Okay, how things are working outside. So you have your MongoDB. So DB, of course, there are a lot of different types of databases, relational, and you have these databases which are not related, elastic searches and all. That is a separate discussion altogether. And you have this Express, you have React, and you have Node. Now let us look at different alternatives for it. If you look at your, if you want to extend this stack, you can extend it with Angular. Express will remain the same, MongoDB will remain the same. Likewise, you have your React. The runtime that I can use is, I can use my Java runtime environment. What about this JRE?
Yeah, JD.
You can use JRE. And when you are using Java, see, Express is a library of JavaScript. Probably you will use Spring Boot here. Spring Boot is a framework like Express. Here you can use MongoDB or MySQL. There are multiple alternatives for your DB. Okay. Let's not worry about it for now. Likewise, you can just search for alternatives for this Spring Boot. There are a lot of alternatives, but Spring Boot is much recommended. Likewise, you can have Angular, again Java runtime environment, and Spring Boot. And you have your Python. Python's framework is Django. I can use React here. And again, I can use Angular here. You have Python and Django. Okay, so these are the parallels that you need to draw eventually. But the thing is, whatever Java does, the operations and everything, they remain the same. See, ultimately, when you can build your Facebook using Express, React, and Node.js. You can build the same Facebook using Spring Boot, React, Java also. Now, at this point of time, you need to realize what happens, or you need to understand. This is your homework, actually. Every day, as a person with 8+ years of experience, your major challenge comes here. Let's say there is an assignment given to you. Your client came to you and asked, Okay, see, I want to design this particular application, let's say a grocery delivery application. He will ask you which stack do you prefer or which stack do you suggest me? Okay, on what basis are you going to take this decision is the question here. Will you go with Java? If Java, why? Will you go with Node.js? If Node.js, why? What all features that Node.js is offering? What all features that Java will offer you? And every business is different, right? So now Java, you need to see, even there is a resourcing problem. Let us say I'm not finding any Java resources. Okay, it's becoming in the market, there are no Java. Let's say there is one scenario where there is no Java resource at all. You need to consider your human resource. You need to consider the security of the project. Will Java offer more security or Node.js does? How much time will Java take? How much time will Node.js take? How many resources do I have? Right? And how easy it is. Let's say if I'm using Java as my backend, is it better to use Angular or React? On what basis are you going to decide? Right? So to take all these kind of decisions, you need to understand any one stack. Okay, and perfectly on how end-to-end things are getting connected, and very importantly, which frameworks are there and what are the benefits of them. If you take React, you should not stop at React. Okay, what are the features that React is offering? What are the features that Angular is offering? Okay, you need to differentiate these two. Likewise, every stack you need to be able to differentiate. So this is your end goal, right? You need to be in a position to understand all this. But to understand all this, what we need is a common point for all of this is object-oriented programming systems. Okay, this is the basis for everything. Whether you take your React, Angular, Node, Java, Python, whatever, the only thing that you need to understand is object-oriented programming. Okay, so are you aware of this object-oriented programming principles before?
Yeah, OOPS concept. I
Yes,
was
the OOPS concepts that you have.
yeah.
Okay, so OOPS concepts are very important. We often forget, and of course, it is very easy to understand how they are working, but applying OOPS is very tough, or
Yeah.
tough actually. But you need to gain some experience to apply it. We can't because there are multiple ways. See, whatever you do in programming is correct, and that's the problem. You can solve a problem in multiple ways, but the only thing is which one is the efficient one, and validating whether that is efficient or not. Sometimes you don't even know whether it is efficient or not. Okay, so what we will do is first we will understand oops how we can implement it by relating it to React. Okay, so what I'll do is we will first start with React. Okay, and while we are learning React, we will learn JavaScript. I don't want to exclude start JavaScript because it is a ocean. It itself would take 50 hours of time. So
Okay.
with React and Node together, we will learn JavaScript. Okay. So you have any editor installed like VS Code or anything?
Yeah, VS Code is there. VS Code is there. IntelliJ also is there. Eclipse also is there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So first, just give me one second.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, we will understand the browser. Okay. Then we will go to other stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So every browser got this thing called your developer console, right? I think probably while testing your APIs, probably you would have used it.
Yeah. Yeah. In network. Yeah.
So this is your elements where you see the interface or whatever is displaying, And if you see this HTML, there is some structure to it. And this content, or the way your browser understands a page, we were talking about this web page, right, where a piece of information. So the information that you are going to see on a web page, it should be structured in a particular manner. Okay. And that way of structuring your information is your HTML. It is just to give you some structure, right? And moreover, this is also data. It's not like HTML is some foreign element came in. Ultimately, this is also your byte stream or your bit stream that comes through the wires again, right? And you have your console. Console is your runtime environment. Means if you write some JavaScript here, it will print. Okay. So most of the times for debugging, you can use this here as a console. And whichever JavaScript code that you write, it understands it. It directly interacts with your browser. And you have your network where whatever requests that are going through this browser, that are communicating with that, whatever you call it as the Wi-Fi module or whatever, ultimately this information goes through that module and communicates with whichever system that you are calling. Right here, I'm calling this play.google.com through my secured HTTPS. And you look at, we'll come deep down to this payload, preview, response, and all this. And you have your sources where you basically see, the entire content or the program that is written for this particular web page on where you're opening. So this is much useful for you during the debugging process. Okay. So when you debug your code, you basically debug in the sources. I'll show you that. And you have your performance and memory allocation. And in application, you see there are, do you know this difference between local storage session and cookie? Heard about these elements anytime?
I heard about cookies and local storage and all. I mean, is that the DB thing they're
No, no,
referring to?
that is okay. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. So we have certain storage that is allocated within the browser. Means you your browser
Okay.
holds some information. Okay, so very little information, right? So see, whenever you say that your browser is holding the information, means what? The information
Actually,
is the client side. Okay,
okay.
but you should not keep information at the client side. You should not. When you are imagine a very highly scalable system. Okay, let's say you're operating as a book my show. Where do you keep this entire data of book my show? You don't keep it on a client side. You have this information on yours at your end, at your servers, right? So ideally, whenever a system is getting designed, especially as we are talking about web applications, you should not put more information on the client side. That is the rule number one. Okay. When you put a lot of information on the client side, see how normally clients operate, they open some 50 tabs at once. That's how we normally operate, right? So, and these browsers are not capable of storing more information at our end. So ideally, whenever you're designing any system, the client side information should be limited as much as possible. But there are few scenarios wherein we use local storage, session storage, and cookies. We will see the differences between these three eventually. So that storage is this. But whichever information that you have uh, with your web page, you ideally keep it at your DB level or at your server level, not at the client level. And then, yeah, this is your developer console overall. And let us now look at some sample application. Just a second. So in JavaScript, you're not aware of like any concepts in JavaScript? You directly started with React, is it?
Initially, I started like that, and later on, I just got to know that I was lacking in JavaScript main
Okay,
thing,
okay.
so I just started with the JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was since I was working in Java, right? So I thought, I mean, maybe we can learn in hand. So
Mm-hmm.
when I see the callback function in the React, when you try to render those things, right? When you use map set and all, using of the collections part, what we use in Java is completely different from JavaScript. Syntactically, it is much simpler in JavaScript than Java. So I was not able to correlate things. So
Okay,
yeah. So
okay, got it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will teach it here only. Okay, we will use this.
Raymond, I mean, how long will be this session now today
Oh,
for
sorry,
today's session?
I normally lose track. Okay, we
Oh,
started
is
at
it
what time? 9 o'clock.
nine? Yeah.
I mean, till what time you will be comfortable? Fine. Or
Today,
one.
I think, can we start after 20 minutes? I want to pick up my dad.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
not
sure.
aware actually.
We'll do
Can,
one thing. We will stop the session here. I'll give you some,
okay.
you can call it as a homework actually. So I'll give you a few
Yeah,
things.
sure, sure.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I will
Maybe
give you
I
a very
can go
simple
through some
task.
topics.
Yeah, just learn Git commands. Okay, Git.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you one tutorial also. Try to learn it. It is very important. So
Okay. Okay.
I'll anyway send few tutorials to you. So just learn Git commands for today. Okay. Tomorrow
Sure, sure, sure.
I'll explain. Okay. We'll end up the session here. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.